Number 3 is also to ensure we deter early elections campaigns the way it's happening now. You have had even people discussing about 2027 elections, yet the government and all of us were just elected the other day. Because you have to note, in Kenya, out of 5 years, 1 year after election, you take in settling down, appointing cabinet, aligning your manifesto, making up the government to function. That's 1 year ago. You immediately before the general elections, you normally was to have fully on campaign. So if you deduct the 2 years of before election and after election, you get to it's 3. So what I'm proposing is just 7. Let us have 2 years. That is the challenge. And even this argument of mine has been backed by research, because essentially even every year immediately after election and before election, the economy of this country is doing bad. And there are statistics about there. Even also another challenge that many people don't know is resurgence of insecurity and gangs that have been used for politicians for campaigns. When now that money, the soft money and handouts come stopping, you find resurgence of criminal gangs across the country. So these are very serious issue, and I had hoped to appear before the National Dialogue Committee, but because out of parochial interest and emotional blackmail and playing to public gallery, they decided not to. So, but I'm thinking and mulling over drafting an amendment to the Constitution to push that agenda.
We will come to that. Let me get back to the issue.
No. But everything we do, even when you elect your leader, you do it in good faith. When somebody comes to office, you don't presume that you will get a dictator or not. Every people who normally elect in good faith. They don't just elect to say that leader will fail. So we elect anybody with the hope. All of us were elected with the hope by the wananchi that we will deliver. Even people like Kibaki who underestimated they will not deliver, they ended up delivering. You can see President William Ruto for the last 1 year, he has really tried. For us, farming region where I come, at least the issue of fertilizer, financial autonomy to police, judiciary fund that has been given to judiciary, the issue of even getting recognition by United Nations, even on the issue of climate change, holding the first African summit, even getting approval by UN Security Council to be part of restoring peace and order in Haiti. Locally and internationally, that is what we are looking at. But the aspect, I agree with you that when a leader comes to office, they always have their vision. And that is why I thought it is important when some of them settle so that they agree with the vision that they have in place. Because the ideals of Uhuru Kenyatta or Kibaki or Moi are totally different with the ideals of William Ruto. He would want maybe to concentrate, for example, on affordable housing. During Kibaki, he concentrated on infrastructure and roads. So you are giving them to realign even their budget. You remember the President Uhuru Kenyatta budget ended last year in June. And then the new financial year of President William Ruto is just beginning. So it may take time to realign the budget to the vision a leader has. But we elect leaders everywhere, even in Africa and across the world, with good faith that they will perform. I don't think one will go to the ballot and say, let's elect this leader because he will not perform. If a leader, for example, fails, there is the right to recall for us, members of parliament. For a governor, there is impeachment. For president, there is impeachment. So if it reaches a level where you think a leader is not performing, the Constitution has put checks and balances and also safeguard measures to ensure if a leader is not performing, there are constitutional and legal mechanisms to remove them from office, even including courts of law, where the leaders are incapacitated, sound mind. So I agree with you to some extent that if people feel that a member of parliament or a senator or a governor, the Constitution has put necessary mechanisms and safeguards through even checks. And another aspect is also through oversight. You know, those like now the National Assembly oversight, the national government on the budgeting, that is also part of checks and balances that ensures there is performance. Even MCS check and the Senate check the governors. Say that if they, for example, even a CEC, where it is being appointed by a governor, they can still be impeached by the MCS. And all those are things that can be put in place at any given time to ensure there are safeguards. Oversight is one of the checks and balances to ensure performance. So, by the way, there is no leader who will become a dictator or non-perform if today it is the National Assembly who passes the national budget. If that budget is not implemented, we have even the EACC and DCI of even economic crimes where somebody can be taken to task. So it's not a blanket check as many people want to believe.
Okay. Now there's this aspect where you wanted to orally submit your proposal proposal to the National Dialogue Committee that has not been approved.
Yes.
Why was it important for you to do it orally when you had actually written?
No. I had filed written submissions, but the issue was to share, because my proposal has raised a lot of national concern, and many people wanted to say, what is Cherargei saying? So I wanted to share my presentation, because I find this as discrimination. Because everybody was invited. Even you saw today, members of National Assembly were before the House, some members of the Senate, religious organization, individuals, all other stakeholders were invited except me, because I believe it is that the National Dialogue Committee are just falling into trap of parochial political interest or fear, because they are using our taxpayers' money. They are not running a church organization or charity organization to say, and they don't cherry pick or choose and pick and say we can listen to so and so but not listen to Cherargei, because as a Kenyan I have a right, any constitutional right, to express myself, and it is within the basic right. I wanted to highlight, because what I had written, I wanted to explain to the nation. It's not even about National Dialogue Committee. And in fact, if the way they are going, the National Dialogue, you know, they are not anchored in the Constitution. They are not anchored in law. They are using taxpayers' money. And even people have gone to court to challenge legally and litigate against them. So in fact, what they are doing, they are continuing to erode what we call public trust. So by the time they are tabling their recommendations and proposals, be it administrative, policy, legislative or constitutional amendments, the four of them, they might even end up not having necessary public confidence, because by the way, you can have something in law or legally, but you don't have the public confidence, which National Dialogue Committee has lacked. They don't have public confidence. They don't have any public undertaking, because they have eroded the integrity of the process.
Do you think something will come out of this process that we are actually having at the Bomas of Kenya?
No, I think what is happening is just it is about massaging of political egos, and from us who have insider information is that the azimio leader, former Prime Minister, wanted a safe exit from the demonstrations because it was not yielding the results he was expecting. So it is managing also your supporters. I think it was just to manage supporters to believe that there is still hope that some things is happening. It's just like rocking a chair, but you are not achieving any results. From where I sit, for example, like cost of living, those are policy issues. You cannot go and talk about it. You have to be deliberate, like the way we are giving subsidized fertilizer and seeds to farmers, ensuring that we give dryers to farmers, ensuring that we protect for post-harvest, like potatoes, like maize. When we harvest maize from where I come in the Rift Valley, we also buy and ensure that we have strategic reserves to ensure that we give farmers, let me say, subsidizing production over consumption. That's one thing. When you talk about following the rule of law, constituting the IEBC, the elections law are clear. The law we amended here in Parliament says you select a selection panel. That selection panel goes and select the IEBC commissioners. The laws are there. Okay. So even if we talk a million years, even in Bomas or anywhere in this country, we shall not, there will be nothing new that will come out of it.
Okay. Then why are we supporting this process if at all there's nothing to say out of it?
I've told you, it's just to massage political egos and a safe exit for the people who are doing illegal demonstrations in the country. Also as a safeguard of managing our supporters. You know, I'm a politician, so the azimio guys told the president, how do we manage our supporters? Because when the demonstrations ended and there was perception that they were looking for handshake, and you know the president declined to give them the handshake, and the Msumkate government, then they decided what is the safe exit to handle some of these issues.
But the opposition has said that if nothing comes out of the Bomas of Kenya, they're still going back to the states. How do you
I'm yet to see that, but I can assure you they don't have even local standard or moral authority. Because the first presentation they didn't receive about cost of living. They have been telling us that they want the office of the official opposition leader, they want the office of the prime minister, they don't want parliamentary system or neither presidential system. They want an hybrid structure governance that we have as a country. So I don't think those are just them details. I can confirm to you, my brother, that whether these talks, there is nothing to come out of it, because I have told you, what did you do about cost of living or cost of fuel?
Right.
For example, fuel is expensive across the world. The OPEC, the oil producing countries, have decided to cut supply to the market. Demand will go up, and these are challenges that are across the world. It is not about Kenya alone. So what we should be asking is, how as a world through United Nations and other international organizations sit and talk with oil producing countries to ensure that they don't create artificial shortage of fuel across the world.
Okay.
Even if you give subsidy today, you remember, and finally to say on this, when you give subsidy today to some of these products, it was like happy hour during Unga subsidy.
Okay.
No one saw where Unga subsidies. They used to open like happy hour. People take the Unga, and then at the end of the day, you don't take the cheap Unga that was needed.
Okay. From what you're saying is that some of the things that are affecting Kenyans very much cannot be handled by the bipartisan team. And so the voice of the Kenyan person, where is it in these talks?
You know, my brother, the question should be, if I have an issue that concerns farmers, I should bring through the Senate or National Assembly or Parliament, because the law recognizes that the wananchi can exercise their power direct more through us. So the question should be, is the National Dialogue Committee usurping the powers of Parliament? Because we sit here as representatives of the people. So the voice of Mwananchi is heard through us.
Okay.
Because when they elect us in good faith, they imagine the senator or member of National Assembly will speak on their behalf because they have surrendered that authority. So the question we should be asking ourselves, for example, from azimio members of Parliament, have they brought issues of cost of living? You know, National Dialogue Conference does not make budget. Have they given budget proposals before the National Assembly when the passage is being passed? Because at the end of the day, we can talk nicely at Bomas, but we have to budget in Parliament. So have we budgeted the priorities of the people? Like, for example, the issue of fertilizer, like what do we call roads, bursary, water. Those are things that can be budgeted here. Even if you talk the whole day, you open Kamukunji, a hall, and tell people, Kenyans, come and speak. If you do not budget for those things like water, roads, bursary, hospitals, money to devolve units, you will not get that. So the question is, wananchi voice will be heard through the democratically elected representative, which is, by the way, we are in office courtesy of the constitution that has been passed by Kenyans.
All right. Back to the issue of the presidential term limit. It seems it has elicited a lot of debate, just like you put it, and a lot of opposition too. Do you feel like you have support on this particular issue?
No, I have support because by the way, I'm aware of Article 257 on popular initiative. I am aware that I want to alter the governance structure as per the constitution. So we are willing to go to referendum or a popular initiative, because amending the constitution are two processes. There is parliamentary initiative and there is popular initiative through referendum. Let us subject, because even the constitution we have was opinion of somebody who was subjected to a referendum.
Okay.
So let's subject, then people will decide.
If we get to that particular point, how do you convince the common person that, by the way, it is right to increase the presidential term limit for leaders who are going into office? How would you champion for that?
But I've just explained in opening remarks that there are reasons like in terms of financial prudence, unity of the country, efficiency in government delivery, and also preventing early electioneering or campaign mood, which undermines the unity of the country.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's get back to as we finalize, maybe one of the proposals was to have bills that are going to be debated in the National Assembly be approved by the Senate. What is the motivation behind that?
You know, if you see the tradition of bicameral legislature across the world, like US, you know, Kenya, the problem with Kenya, we don't want to go parliamentary system or presidential system. We want to have a mongrel or an hybrid system. So if you got a tradition where you are bicameral, one house must have the veto power to bills. And that is why this business of bringing a bill to the Senate, we amend, then it comes to national, they receive an amendment, we go for mediation, is not good. It is untidy. That is why there is so many litigations against the legislative process in this country. So everywhere across the world, Senate being the upper house always has the veto powers. And in fact, in my proposal, is also to give Senate power of vetting, like ambassadors and other commissions. We don't want to visit cabinet. The National Assembly can vet cabinet, but we can vet ambassadors, we can vet, apart from ambassadors, we can vet other state commissions, because for example, Kenya National Human Rights brings a report both to National Assembly and the Senate. When you look at Article 249, I think so, it talks that the parliament should allocate. It does not talk about National Assembly. It allocate, both houses should allocate to the commissions independent. So we must be part of NGEC, appointment of NGEC, the chairpersons, all these independent commissions, PSC, TSC, because even the Inspector General of Police, we must be allowed to vet. Why? Because all their issues they are handling is cross-cutting, it is affecting counties. duties. So that is the only aspect that we are pushing. But the issue of vetting cabinet ministers and what have you, that one can be done by the National Assembly. So apart from veto powers, and then we give the powers of upper house to the Senate. Because anywhere, if you want a proper Senate, like the US, like Nigeria, those are houses that have the final say or finality on the bills. And that's why I'm saying let's give veto powers to the Senate, let them have the final say on the bills for tidiness and efficiency and to appoint the legislative. Because in any practice of bicameral, those are hard decisions we must make. And we have done this from 2015 as a Senate. Even when I was the chair, JLab, we did propose an amendment to the Constitution. And that bill is ready.
Finally, you've protested that you've not been invited in the National Dialogue Committee to give your proposals. What's next for you, if at all these proposals?
No, what I can say is that one, they wrote me a letter to appear, and then they cancelled on Friday. I wrote them back and attached my other documents, but I'm now metamorphosing my proposal into amendment to the Constitution. Then I'll table at the floor of the Senate and Parliament. Let Parliament decide when they go through it and recommend for popular initiative, like the way we did to the BBI process. And then I don't think there's a problem. They will decide. It's a proposal I'm making, just the way many people are making a proposal about official opposition leader, veto powers to the Senate. All these aspects, I'm just making them available for the benefit of discourse of this country.
How far do you feel like that is going to go for you?
No, it takes a lot of time because there is what we call pre-publication scrutiny. Then we have what we call, how can I put it? And then we have committee to look at it, being recommended, then you start moving, then debate. So it is an interesting, it can enrich the conversations in this country. Because that's how, many people should know that the Constitution we have should not be a stationary document. It should be a live document. It should grow. It should have a conversation around it to improve. You remember when we passed this Constitution, we are being told 80% is good, but 20% is bad. So I want to cure the 20%. It is as simple as that.
Thank you so much, Senator, for your time.